It might seem like comics have tons of hardcore fans that are willing to go through the thick and thin of comics no matter what. They're always going to follow their favorite characters, their favorite publishers, their favorite writers and artists. But I'm here to tell you that is not the case. Comics is a hobby that is so easy to drop. People do it all the time, and they do so without saying a word about it. They just leave. That's what it comes down to. That'll leave the most hardcore fans left. So, what happens when comic book publishers are desperately looking for new fans to replace the ones that they're bleeding out? Well, they double down on the same kinds of practices that they've already gone through to lose the fans in the first place. We're going to get into this. First off, if you haven't seen Fatal, it's on Indiegogo right now. One of the best looking comic books you're going to see anywhere if you've been out of comics and you would like to get back into comics. This is a great place to start. Fantastic art by Charlie Snogans. I'm very proud of the story that I wrote for this, and it should be a lot of fun. All right. So first off, I want to look at this YouTube channel. It's Dizzy D. And I have a feeling everyone's gonna be like, well, yeah, you know who Dizzy D is. I have no idea. Never heard of this person, but she's got, a modest sized YouTube channel, 12,000 subscribers, almost 13,000. But she's got a video that really stands out by sheer numbers of the views. And that's this one that is titled, Please Stop It. Well, I'm no longer a comic book fan. And it has over 700,000 views. This was posted almost a year ago, March 30th, 2020. And the way that she started out her video is that she just showed you trailers or some of the marketing video material that major publishers, Marvel and DC, were putting out to promote their books. How are they promoting their books? They told you, first off, that they were aiming at Gen Z. And then what they did is express about their how important diversity was, how important representing every single group, including, in the craziest thing is the Star Wars example that she showed. Every single fan, there's going to be a story for everybody. What this does is it divvies up the story and the franchise so much that you have a story for such obscure people. It turns out most people are not actually all that different. We all are still interested in universal themes and storytelling. And while Marvel and DC are desperate to find new fans, fans like this, a fan even with a YouTube channel, she's even female, she's interested in regular comic books the way that they have been. That's why she fell in love with comic books. Let's hear what she has to say.
I'm sorry for putting you through that, but this is what the comic book industry standard is becoming, and I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I feel like all they're trying to do is bring in new, fresh blood, and they're completely and utterly forgetting about their old, loyal comic book readers. I feel like every comic book writer is trying to ram their political agenda down your throat, and it's all about equality and diversity and everything else that was written on the board in the Star Wars trailer. But I just think that they're missing the point. They're missing why people loved the old characters so much. And yeah.
And so here it is. I'm going to add to this too that while they've convinced bosses, they've convinced editors that the way to appeal to new readers is through ideology, and that Gen Z cares desperately about left-wing ideology. Like, that is going to save comics. That's exactly what they need. Turns out this is exactly the problem. The second thing that compounds this problem is that the comic book industry isn't listening to fans. Most fans, though, of comics are pretty happy to leave. There are other kinds of entertainment, hobbies, media, nerd culture that you can get into. They're going to cater to your hopes and dreams and desires, everything that you've wanted from comic books. And the other point that Dizzy makes here is that she wants to read stories about heroes, people to look up to. And it seems like the comic book industry is desperate and quickly pushing their characters down to the lowest common denominator. They're making them so flawed that they're worthless. They're not superheroes anymore. They're just neurotic, self-absorbed, narcissists. They're all so obsessed with social media. there isn't escapism when it's reflecting directly what's happening in real life. Gen Z is moving on to video games where they can find stories, at least for the time being, that are going to, give them what they want, what they've been looking for. That's why so many people are turning to anime and manga as opposed to American comic books, because they haven't yet been taken over by this extreme ideology. So if you're wondering where the comic book fans have gone, they have quietly, in most cases, just tuned out. It's easy to stop buying comics, to just discontinue. How many times can you sit through insults from comics that speak down to you and try to teach you moral lessons that are really based and rooted in politics? It's not hard at all to leave that hobby behind and move on to other things. It happens all the time. And I think the comic book industry would do well to realize that they're not going to be able to maintain their same fans for much longer. They're only left with the most vocal and the most diehard. And even those fans, they've also been turning away as well. So I'd love to know what you think in the comments below about all of this and these points. I thought, it was really cool to just see a normal person say these same things without being labeled as a bigot, at least as far as I am aware. But if you haven't checked out Fatal, check it out in the link in the description below. Really appreciate you. Like, subscribe, and share this video, and let me know if there's other content out there about people leaving the comic book industry. I'm interested in how to get these people back into comics. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.